Hello, everybody. Will Byington here, back for another episode of My Three Things. It's the brand new podcast that hopefully introduces you to your new favorite thing. Each week, either myself or a guest will be introducing you to three things that are rocking their world right now. Could be what they're listening to, reading, watching, investing in, whatever it is that's getting them through these crazy days and helping us out. Hopefully they'll share with you and it will become your new favorite thing. Thanks so much for joining us. My Three Things with Will Byington starts now. This week on the podcast, I'm thrilled to introduce you to another one of my favorite frontmen in rock and roll. Along with Greg, Dean, Eric, and Mark, Scott Terry is the lead singer of the Columbus, Ohio band Red Wanting Blue. They've been a band for 25 years, rocking the stages across the U.S. for over 200 shows a year. Perhaps you caught them years ago on Late Night with David Letterman, or Mountain Stage program, or at a venue near you. Red Wanting Blues released 12 studio albums, and seriously is one of the most energetic, fun live shows you can see. Led by Scott Terry, here it is, My Three Things. Mr. Scott Terry, what's happening, buddy?
Just delighted to be here. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, man. Fantastic. Beautiful day in Chicago. Yep. And, I think we're rounding the curve. I think we're on our way to better days.
Very, very cool. Very cool. I know today was a good day for New York too. I got to say right off the bat, dude, I'm checking out that microphone you got there. You even got a pretty sweet rig. Nice system happening.
I learned if you just buy the microphone, the podcast automatically happens. That's the way this works.
There
right? You go. You buy a nice microphone and you instantly have credibility with a brand new podcast. Is from what I hear.
As soon as you throw that little split screen up in front of it, everyone's like, "Oh, legit, totally legit."
Yeah, and I don't even know what this really does, to be honest. I think it helps. Keeps the microphone clean.
It stops. It stops all the explosives.
I love it. Dude, it's so good to see you. I miss you.
You too.
It's been over a year since I've seen Red Wanting Blue on stage.
I know, isn't it crazy? I'm looking forward to this. We get that live stream coming up here. We're definitely looking forward to that.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. My three things. We'll dive into that in a second, but let's jump right into that. Saturday, March 20th, Red Wanting Blue live from Columbus, Ohio. Tell us what people can expect.
Well, we're a Columbus, Ohio band. Those of you who just believe we're international stars, we actually have a home base. It's Columbus, Ohio. It's where our studio is and warehouse space. So we have sort of a all-encompassing space out there that we have recorded, demoed records, rehearsed, do everything there. So it seemed like the appropriate spot to have live stream. And it's where we've got it's just where we've got all of our, we can go down a really beautiful memory lane of past show, stage props and, just things over the years. It's kind of like my own little version of, Pee-wee's Playhouse meets Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, So that's kind of, at the end of the day, it's just a rock and roll warehouse space, but it's a lot. There's a lot of fun to it and a lot of charm. So we wanted, for safety reasons, and we wanted for letting people in. I felt like that's the one thing during this last year we've gotten to see from people. People have gotten a chance to, whether you like it or not, you get welcoming people into your home. I've done it a bunch, on little doing solo performances where you're like, here I'm in my living room, or I'm in my, my music area. Here we go. So I kept thinking about that the whole time I was doing solo stuff, thinking, man, this would be so great, to do a whole band one where people can see, there's just so much to look at and so much fun stuff. So that was ultimately the reason. And again, not to knock anybody out there who's doing it, because I think if you can even do one, because we've come to figure out in the process of us taking forever to get ours done and just set up, it's not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into doing these things right. So props to anyone who's done their live streams. But we felt like, in watching them over the last year, people have had no, you get critical of watching, like, oh, I like the way they did this, not so much. And the one thing that I've always enjoyed is I seem to enjoy the live streams where people are doing it in their own space.
It'll be fun.
So, yes.
It sounds like it'll be a little bit of Cribs meets Red, White, and Blue.
That's what I'm looking for. Exactly.
Anybody who's ever seen Red, White, and Blue knows that Mr. Scott Terry likes a knick-knack. You like a little tchotchke, perhaps. So something tells me
I am definitely a fan.
It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be great. I'm excited too. Yeah. It's and mind you, I haven't been out there in a year. So I've been out here in Brooklyn, New York, which is where I live, and I haven't needed to go out there for any reason. So I haven't been out there. So I've been missing that place as much as, more than anybody else. I think everybody else at some point has gotten back there. I'm the only one who hasn't been able to be back there.
Well, it's going to be fun to see you on stage with the guys, to hear y'all laugh and sing some songs. RedWhiteBlue.com, tickets are available. And you've got a meet and greet as well. People can even join a post-show, pre-show, post-show. I think right now we're doing, I think it's post-show, but there's been some developments that we may either add to, or there may be a pre-show one. I don't know. Oh, that's awesome.
That I cannot specify yet. Check it out.
RedWhitingBlue.com is where you get your tickets. It's going to be a fantastic night of music. And honestly, my friend, it's what we need. We need to see you singing. So
I appreciate that. I need it too. We need it too, man. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
So let's jump in. It's been a crazy year. The idea with my 3 things is what's getting us all through, because I feel like if you're like me, I've said this before on these, my Netflix queue, for example, is maxed out. I feel like I've got 100 shows on there, but I still turn on Netflix and go, I don't know what to watch. I don't know what to watch. I don't know what to read. I don't know what to listen to. So the idea with the podcast was, let's have friends like you turn people on to hopefully their new favorite thing. So what are 3 things that have gotten Scott Terry? What's getting you by?
Well, I've got a couple things. I'm narrowing it down. Okay. So what do we want to jump into first? We want to jump into music, literature, or the film, the stream world?
You know what? I'll take literature for 300.
Literature for 300. Well said. Okay, good choice. Actually, I don't know if you've met. I don't know that. You've met. Will, you have met Nadia. She's been on the Rock Boat a few times. She's really close family friend to Jen and I. We've known her for years. She just released a book, and I mean, this book, folks out there listening, and I mean, this book it's awesome. It's called Aftershocks. We're so proud of her. I have it right here. Jen and I we've been parsing it out so as to not just blow through it.
Awesome. Aftershocks by Nadia Owusu. Is that how you say it? Owusu.
It's Owusu. But let me tell you, this woman is such a badass. Her first book, it's like out in I don't know how many different languages. She's already been in Vogue for it, for this book. They did a whole write-up on her, and she is number 1. Jen, is it right? She's number 1 on Oprah Winfrey's Books of 2021
for her first book. Her first book already on Oprah's
first book. List. To the moon, fly, rocket ship.
So what you're telling me is it's not only Scott Terry's favorite thing, it's Oprah's favorite thing.
It's Oprah's favorite. Yeah, no, but I mean,
tell me a little bit about the writing. Book. What is the book about?
It's a memoir, so it talks about her life, and just it's been wonderful for us to read, because we've heard all of her all these stories of her growing up, and on a more intimate level, but getting a chance to sort of read it on a page, you can it's just wild to hear her life. She, without giving too much away, she's lived in 5 different countries growing up. She spoke multiple languages. Her father was a ambassador for the UN, and she's lived in Africa, she's lived in Europe, she's lived in the UK, she's been in America, and just wild story of her father passing when she was young, and it's to see the way she had to navigate her life to get to where she was, to then be in New York where we met her, 20 years ago and have been friends ever since. It's really remarkable. And I just think right now with what's going on in the world, like there are just forces at work that have sort of put her in a place, in my opinion, that she could be like the voice of this generation. Like she's I know that's a big thing to say, but to be where we are with COVID's been such a time of introspection and like reevaluation, and then shortly before that there were all of the Me Too movements of and it's just Black Lives Matter, all of these different things. This woman and her voice and what she's talking about, I can't say enough great things about her. And yes, I am biased because I love her and we're friends, but it's just an astounding achievement for writing. Aftershocks. Yeah. It's just such a beautiful, lyrical, poetic read. It's so, her writing is so, I feel like I'm reading like a 21st century version of like a Great Expectations or something.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. So anyway, so that's what we've been reading, and you'll definitely learn something from the book. It's not a book that you're like, oh, that was just a neat story experience. I mean, what she gets into so much detail about so much stuff. It's really, really something else.
Awesome. I've heard Oprah has a good track record of good books, so that's pretty awesome.
I know. The Meghan Markle interview, I was like, hello, when are we going to talk about Nadia's book? Come on, Number 2, we'll go to streaming right now. Alan versus Pharaoh. Right there, top of the list for me. 4-part miniseries. I've been riveted by this thing. I mean, anybody who doesn't already know, I feel like that's a story that people are like, oh yeah, right, Mia Farrow and
know a little bit. And you're like, it seemed weird. It seemed a little, maybe he didn't. I hear that this is damning for him.
I will be surprised if he works, like if he doesn't just become a recluse and go away, or if there's not criminal charges. It's just amazing. You hear Mia Farrow's story. I mean, I have to say, I didn't know her very well. Everybody knows Woody Allen, and I knew Mia Farrow from a few things. If you said to me before this, what's a story with Mia Farrow? I'd be like, I think she's kind of crazy a little bit. She tried to sue Woody Allen or something. But then again, Woody Allen's kind of a creep because I think he had an affair with her daughter, her adopted daughter.
The story of 2 of the biggest stars in the world.
The father is Woody Allen, writer, director, actor. The mother is Mia Farrow, his co-star and mother of his 3 children.
Say hi.
Hi.
My family was really close.
It was an amazing childhood. But no matter what you think you know, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Woody Allen is one of the most prominent American directors.
He was such a cultural figure.
Woody Allen, Mia Farrow, that's the ideal power couple.
Woody gave her everything she could possibly want.
I was over the moon happy, but that's the great regret of my life. I wish I'd never met him.
Mia reportedly has a video of their daughter Dylan explaining how Allen molested her.
Could you give us a comment, Woody?
Allen denies child abuse, but freely admits he's in love with another of Farrow's daughters, 21-year-old Soon Yi.
There was a stack of Polaroid pictures. All of them were of my own child. I remember struggling to breathe.
I thought to myself, there has to be another side to the story.
Farrow is accused of seeking revenge for Allen's affair with Soon Yi.
She was terribly upset.
The report says Farrow may have coached the child to tell the story.
Where did he touch you?
You brought charges against me as an unfit mother.
And I'm going to make them stick.
This is a case unlike anything the state of Connecticut had confronted.
All of the notes were destroyed.
For the first time as an adult, I read the court documents. My reaction was, well, holy shit.
Everybody wanted to know how this was going to end.
Ready?
There's so much misinformation. It doesn't matter what's true. What matters is what's believed.
there was definitely, they made it feel like, or the media or whoever, they painted in a way like they're both a little crazy. That's wacky. That's totally not so. She sounds like the sweetest woman, and she is pretty remarkable. I mean, having so many kids, so many adopted kids, a wonderful woman. And Woody is total creep show. I'm sorry. Like
the craziest thing I've heard also is the interviews with, I mean, it's with his daughter, right? As a child, and she basically was like, something happened. She was like 6 years old, right, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
There's so many things that they're doing. Like there's so many, like the clips. Yeah, the clips themselves and the audio. Mia Farrow was so smart because she was like the age of like the camcorder, and she's like set it up, but she was like such a sweet mom in those things. You could tell she's like, I'm documenting this while I can, but she never led the kid. She wasn't coaching the kid. It was just very like, what, okay, and how do you feel, or what happened, where did it happen, or she wasn't leading the kid. The kid was just like coming up with this stuff. All of her stories were very consistent. They're so damning. And then there's audio between her and Woody Allen. And he's just like a creep. Like she's recording this stuff. He's recording stuff, but he's trying to deny that he's recording. It doesn't paint him in a very good light. And the whole story of him in the beginning wasn't great either, because they made it sound like it was this charming thing, like they're together, but he has an apartment on the one side of Central Park. She's got an apartment on the other side. And then you find out he's like, yeah, I want nothing to do with the kids. I don't like kids. You have to deal with the kids. I'm going to live in my own place, but I'll come over and like hang out with them, I guess. Like he just seems so reluctant. But then he like went, super stalker on the one little kid. And it's really wild. It's riveting. Everyone should watch it. Yeah.
I read an interesting article with, I think, is it Dylan? And she basically said she even didn't really want this to come out. She's kept it out. But she was like, if it helps one person who has either dealt with this or is dealing with it still, as a grown-up, she was like, if this helps one person, I'm happy to have it out in the world.
It does seem strange, like a weird time that after all of this, I mean, because it was it was between like the mid 90s to early 2000s that all of this stuff went down. It's just really, I think that you see just sort of how, like, I was comparing it to that movie, that film Bombshell that came out a year or two ago about Fox News and all that. How remarkable you go, man, I would have thought that some of the problems and things that were happening in that film were like way decades ago, but it's happening then, or like now from like 90s through. And there was a remarkable amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it was like cover up stuff. Like you could see the power of Woody Allen and like his entourage or his people that represent him, his legal team. And it's very telling when you watch it now, 20 years later, looking at like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they got away with that. That's my jam right there.
And what's number 3 on your My Three Things getting Scott Terry by?
Okay, well, number 3 is kind of a little bit of a weird one for me. In the music department, so I would say definitely like for during COVID, we've had an immense amount of podcasts that we've all been listening to, but and traveling is difficult, or at least in Brooklyn, like we don't get out nearly as much. But when we do get out, we drive around the city and driving around a lot, and the city can be a little crazy at times. So in order to sort of stifle or bottle my rage, soothe my road rage as I drive around the city, I have this. I've had it a while ago. I got it a while ago, but only sort of really started to go after it almost every time I get in the car now. Is this? I don't know if it's still there, but I bought it on iTunes many years ago, and it's an album called 100 Classic French Songs. And it's just 100 classic French songs. I think it was like $10. I was like, you get 100 songs for $10? And if you've ever listened to like Sirius XM, where you had like the old 40s on 4, where they like, I love 40s music. I love anything that's like kind of, you know, it's like classical, but not quite, you know, like it's got, it's definitely dated, and I love that stuff. A lot of that classic French stuff is also of the same era. So you're listening to, you know, like Edith Piaf and this guy Yves Montand. I love that guy. He's outstanding. But there's all these. It just you know, you find yourself driving around. It calms the nerves. I feel like I'm far more patient. Like I'm like, go ahead. You know, I get to a stop sign. Lots of pedestrians. Please, you go first. You know, there's not a lot of like. It calms me down in a way that like if I was listening to like a political podcast, I'd probably be like, you know, I'd be wanted for some type of hit and run or something at this point. So yeah, that's been a really fun. It's been fun.
Instantly, you're transferred to a stroll through Paris, basically.
Exactly. It makes, and I'm reminded. Get reminded all the time that this city, it's an international city, and you start driving around. You're on the Brooklyn Bridge, and you're, you know, hearing songs like "A bicyclette, bicyclette, bicyclette." You know, singing these little silly songs. It's been enjoyable for if you're looking for something to sort of tune out and just relax.
And with that, it froze up, of course. Scott Terry, my friends, from the band Red Wanting Blue. Thanks so much for sharing your 3 things that are getting you through and getting you by on these crazy days. Just remember, this weekend, pick up tickets right now for the live stream from Red Wanting Blue. RedWantingBlue.com is where you can get those. It's going to be an excellent night of music and entertainment from Scott and the boys of Red Wanting Blue. Thanks again so much. As always, I'll put the links down below to that and everything else that Scott mentioned. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Will Byington, My 3 Things. See ya.